Hey guys, as I said previously, I want to make a lot of different content on my YouTube channel, and today I want to make a Kindred guide. But first of all, because like Kindred is a champion that I love playing, and then also because I think she's really strong in the current meta. Kindred's passive is Mark of the Kindred. Both Kindred and the Wolf can mark targets, and the targets will also be visible for the enemy team. While you can choose which enemy champion to mark, the Wolf will randomly mark enemy jungle camps or one of the two Rift Girdles. Getting a kill or an assist on champion or kill on the jungle camp gives you a stack. Each stack increases damage output, so it's definitely worth to pick up as many marks as possible. After acquiring 7 stacks, Wolf will stop marking jungle camps, instead he will only mark Dragon and Baron Nashor. I'll talk about how to effectively use the marks on enemy champions later. Kindred's Q ability is Dance of Arrows. When using it, Kindred dashes into the target direction. While dashing, she shoots up to 3 arrows at the nearest targets. Using her W ability or using Dance of Arrows inside W zone reduces the cooldown. Dance of Arrows also resets your auto attack. If used well, this will increase your damage output, which leads to faster clear speed and sometimes the last bit of damage needed to get a kill. Kindred's W ability is called Wolf's Frenzy. This ability has an active and a passive effect. Passively, while you either move or basic attack, you get stacks, and at 100 stacks, your next auto attack will now heal her. When using W, a small circle will appear around Kindred, and Wolf will attack close enemies. When you leave the circle, it disappears. Kindred's E ability is called Mounting Dread. It's a point and click slow, and additionally when Kindred attacks the target 3 times within a short time, her third attack deals bonus damage. Kindred's ultimate is called Lamb's Respite. When casting it, every unit within a small circle around her cannot be killed. This also applies to enemies, minions, and neutral monsters like Baron, Nashor, and Dragon. After a few seconds, every unit inside the circle will receive a small heal, and you will now be able to kill the targets again. Kindred is currently one of the best junglers both in solo queue and competitive play. While she has certain weaknesses that I'll talk about later, she'll become a monster in the mid game if played correctly, and you will be able to carry your games without depending on other teammates if you're really good at her. However, Kindred is very vulnerable to CC since she relies on using her ultimate when she's low, so you have to be really careful on enemy champions that can lock you down right before you can use your ultimate. And if they successfully can lock you down before you use your ultimate, you'll have way less impact in a team fight. That's why if you're a good player, you will be able to position better, but also most players build some tanky damage items, so you have an easier time getting through the CC. Kindred is vulnerable in early combat like Aerial and Marksman. If the enemy jungler finds you at one of your camps, he'll most likely be able to kill you or at least burn your flash. Once you fall behind, you'll have a hard time picking up the marks because the enemy team sees which camp you want to take and wait for you. So you have to be more careful about like what camps you do at what health. If you're full health, you will be able to skirmish most other jungle champions, but if you're sitting at 50%, they'll be able to one-shot you. Kindred can also be an efficient counter jungler herself, as long as you make sure that you want to meet the enemy jungler. Her mobility makes it really easy to get away from taking enemy camps because you can always use your Q to jump over different walls. Kindred is also pretty fast at taking dragons because her stacks give her auto attacks additional damage, and it scales with current health of the target. So if your bot lane has pushed out the lane, you can always call them over to help you with the dragon. But once you get blood rage, you can actually solo dragon, and all you have to be careful of is if the enemy has warded around dragon areas so they know you're on it. But if you can sneak it by yourself and nobody comes to contest it, it's gonna be a free objective for you. Once Kindred hits her level 6 power spike, she can go a bit deeper in teamfight and you will be able to skirmish more people, especially combined with a few stacks and your first item, which will hopefully be Blood Racer. Having your ultimate makes a Kindred a strong turret diver as well, so you can make some really nice turret dives if you use your ultimate probably in the end when the turret hits you. Additionally, when you get one defensive item, you'll also be able to go a bit deeper without getting one-shot by the enemy jungler. So if you're not too far behind, now is a good time to hunt them down, steal their camps, and do whatever you can to snowball the game. Kindred is one of the best late game junglers. She is really strong because first of all there's no limit on how many marks you can get. Second of all, she takes dragons and barons extremely fast because of Blood Racer and the percentage damage from her marks, and also because of your ultimate. If you have really good usage of your ultimate in team fights, you can turn the entire team fight around. And also, when you hit late game, you'll most likely have a GA. So combine your ultimate with your GA, you can be able to outplay most of your enemies. Kindred's basically an all 80 carry added to your team. She works especially well when you don't need to pick up a tank and you like physical damage. So if you have a bunch of AP, Kindred is great. And also, you want to make sure that you have a tank on your team because you want to have CC so you can carry team fights harder. Kindred also works really nicely as a counter to assassins like Zed and Kha'Zix, and she does really well against tanky team comps because of her percentage HP scaling. One of Kindred's weaknesses is her range. She needs to be in close range to be able to deal damage, and that's why you would be able to carry harder if you have teammates that can lock down targets for you. As I said before, having tanks with CC just makes her way stronger in teamfights. If you not have the lockdown or the movement speed boosts, the enemy team can catch you with longer range champions such as a Seer. Blind ping Kindred is usually fine, however there are some champions that counters her. Seer is one of the big counters because he has long range and he can also ult Kindred away once you finally get in range of him. While she outskills most junglers, there are some early game champions such as Elise that can take advantage of Kindred's bad early game, and if Elise manages to kill Kindred, Kindred will fall really far behind and it's hard for Kindred to get back in the game. Additionally, Gregs might be a tank that Kieran normally does well against, but if Gregs makes good use of his ultimate and knocks out people from the save area, they'll most likely die. So Gregs' ultimate is sort of like a counter to Kindred ult. So even though Kindred is good against most champions in the early game, there are some champions that counter her early and there are some champions that counter her mid-late game. Kindred's early jungle clear is pretty good. Make sure when you're doing camps that you kite with your Q and W and that you move in between basic attacks to take less damage. While most junglers do a full clear at the start of the game, I like to do 3 camps on the same side of the map, since you normally clear the camps around 230 to 240 and the mark spawns at 230 usually on Scholar Crabs, so I like to either gank a lane or head back to farm the rest of my camps. Kindred normally runs out of mana pretty quickly, so you have to make sure that you're using your Q efficiently. You have to mainly use your Q when you can hit at least 2 creatures or more, because else it's just smart of you to just basically take and use your W, because in the earlier clear you will not have that much mana. So if you use a lot of mana on the first few camps, you'll not have the mana to kill the rest of the camp, so you'll be struggling a lot with the clear speed if you start on red side. But obviously if you start on blue side, you'll have a bunch of mana, you don't have to care about this. Kindred's ganks can be super strong, especially when your team has some kind of CC and you have red buff, so you can continue to slow them down, since Kindred's E ability isn't too strong of a slow, so you just have to position well and continuing to be able to attack them. If Kindred is ganking a lane where you have CC from your laner, it's usually a free kill if you get in the position where you can continue to hit them with your basic attacks and your Q and your W. Even without hot CC, if you're able to get in range of your E, your W, and your Q abilities, you should be able to just slow him down and continue to jump after him with Q and eventually be able to kill him. Before level 6, you have to be careful with getting counter ganks, since Kindred is a very squishy champion. If you, for example, take a cocoon to your head, you'll be able to get burst down to very low health or even die instantly, and you'll most likely be losing that 2v2. But when you're level 6, you can still turn around those counter ganks as long as you don't get bursted from 100 to 0 during the stun duration, since you cannot really use your ultimate while you're stunned. Normally it's the easiest to gank top lane, since the top lane is a really long lane and also that's the lane where you normally have CC. Bot lane is a little harder than top lane because now there's 2 enemies and one of them will most likely have either stun or slow or something that can make them get away from you faster and you won't be able to chase them down. But if you can get behind bot lane, most of the times it will at least be 1 kill. Mid lane is, for me, I think the hardest because mid lane is a small lane, and Kindred you have to really come from behind to get an effective gank on mid lane unless your mid lane has CC, because basically if you come from one side, the mid lane can just run out to the other side. In teamfights, you most of the time want to peel with your AD carry and AP carry, since Kindred is really good at killing frontline, and also because you can use your ultimate to save your carries. You have to watch your positioning a lot, because if you get stunned and killed before you can use your ultimate, you'll have a really low impact in the game. But if you are able to use your ultimate effectively, you'll probably be the one carrying the team fight. If you're really fat, you can look to be more aggressive and try to kill their backline, but in general it's better to kill their frontline because of your percentage damage, mainly because of the marks. If you hit super late game or you're really fed and you picked up a Guardian Angel, you have more freedom to go more aggressive in team fights, since now if you get stunned and die, you'll respawn again, you have a second chance to use your ultimate. On Kindred run 980 marks, 9 armor seals, 9 magic resist glyphs, and 3 attack speed crins. The reason why I do attack speed crins is because Kindred is great with attack speed, and the 980 marks and the 3 attack speed crins works really well together for most AD junglers. 9 armor seals is basically because you want to take less damage in the jungle, and having 9 armor seals and 9 magic resist glyphs just makes you a bit more tanky, so if in the earlier stages of the game you get hit by a CC, you'll be able to survive and hopefully be able to use your ultimate in time. If you don't really think you need magic resist because that jungler is not AP because they don't have a AP carry mid lane, or you just think they don't have enough damage, or you want to build them Hexdrinker and you don't feel you need the extra magic resist, I like to do cooldown reduction flat glyphs, mainly because you get a lower cooldown on your Q and W. This is my mastery page. I use Forever Bell because I want to do as much damage as possible, both in the early game when I gank and in team fights. Some people use Strength of the Ages, but I think Strength of the Ages, you don't really need it because you build some kind of defensive items anyway, and you just want to put down as much damage as possible. Also, when you're Kindred, you want to auto attack as much as possible in team fights, so it makes it easy to stack your keystone efficiently, and that's why I think Forever is a greater keystone over Strength of the Ages. On Kindred you start with W simply because Q without reset is pretty inefficient. On level 2 you get the Q for the bit of jungle clear, and at level 3 you most of the time want to get E, so if the jungler comes and contests the scuttle, you'll be able to 1v1 him, and if you are looking for ganks, E just makes the ganks easier to be a successful gank. But if you don't have the mana to use your E, let's say you have around 100 mana when you have that third level, I sometimes put a point into Q again, so I do WQQ, because the E requires a lot of mana, so if you don't have that mana, I mean, then it's better to just get more damage from Q. I max Q first, W second, and E third. The reason why I max Q first is because it's your main damage output. Second, you want to max W because it's your kind of like other ability that does a lot of damage, and also when you have a low cooldown on W, you'll also be able to use Dance of Arrows more. You max E last because your E is not really the ability that makes Kindred strong. E is just kind of there to have that little extra damage when you hit 3 attacks and also be able to slow them down and chase them, but the Q and W are just way stronger than the E. My starting items on Kindred are Hunter's Talisman and Refilled Potion. The first real item getting is Challenging Smite with Blood Rose enchantment. The reason why I get Red Smite, Challenging Smite over all smites is because it allows me to skirmish junglers early, so if an elite goes on me, I'll most likely be able to 1v1 her, and also it makes my ganks more efficient. After that, I get Boost of Swiftness for the extra movement speed, so I'll be able to chase down the enemy easier. If you play against a comp with a lot of AP, I mainly build Maw, and if you're against a comp with mostly AD, I get Hysterics. Getting a defensive item early to me seems super impactful because now you're less vulnerable to CC, and you'll be able to have an easy time using your ultimate in team fights. Next item I get Phantom Dancer because Phantom Dancer gives you attack speed, crit, and movement speed, which are all great on Kindred, and additionally, when you hit a champion, you take 12% less damage, and that just makes your skirmish a lot stronger. Some people do, well, most people do Hurricane, and I don't really like Hurricane because it's not as efficient in 1v1s as Phantom Dancer. After that, your next item depends if they have a lot of armor or not. If they do, I get Lord Dominic's. That being said, if they have a lot of healing, like Vladimir Swain or Soraka, it might be better for you to get more reminders so they don't heal as much. And if they don't have a lot of armor, I'll do Guardian Angel, mainly because Guardian Angel allows you to skirmish harder, be able to go harder in team fights, and if you are not able to use your ultimate the first time, I mean, you die and you have another chance to use your ultimate. Mark the enemy jungler at the start of the game. He's the most likely champion you'll be facing in the early game, and if you want to gank another lane, you can always put the mark on them before you gank the lane. When ganking, make sure the target is marked if possible. If you mark the champion too early, it gives away that you're on your way, so you kinda want to mark him right before you gank, but you also have to make sure that the mark actually hits the target before he dies, because if you kill the target before the mark is actually on him, you'll not be able to get the stack. If you can, try to stall the enemy champion as long as possible and kill him once the mark is there. Some additional tips, just like be aware of your positioning. You want to make sure that you can use your ultimate in team fight, so you want to be in a position where they can't CC you down and kill you. So let's say you do get hit by a CC, you want to make sure that like the second before you hit the CC, let's say like the cocoon is in the air and you think that they can burst you down before you can use your ultimate if that cocoon hits. If you don't have a flash and you don't have another way to dodge it or escape it, you just want to throw down your ultimate instantly so they at least can't kill you through the CC and you'll be able to survive for a few more seconds. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm still not really sure what content to put out on my YouTube channel besides the highlight videos. That's why I've been trying some different stuff like the dragon changes and now the Kindred guide. So it'd be awesome if you guys can give me some feedback below and let me know what you guys want to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this Kindred video and see you guys soon again. Goodbye.